there, Beer to Whiskey crew. Welcome to this episode of Beer to Whiskey. I'm Russ Heaps, your host, and in my ongoing efforts to spread the gospel of good taste, today I find myself in Boca Raton, Florida, on the Gold Coast of Florida, as a matter of fact. And we're here at Prosperity Brewers, and we're going to talk a little bit about their brewery, how it got started, talk a little bit about the beer, which is quite good, incidentally. But before we get into that, we've got a little bit of housekeeping to take care of. And Bongo, what would we like the folks to do?
Well, Russ, we'd like to... I love going overboard on that, sorry. It's my only little fun thing I get to do. We want you to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can watch more videos about fantastic beer and brewers.
That's exactly right. So look for the thumbs up down below and click on that for like. And at the end of the video, there's an opportunity to click on some other videos and watch those. There's also a little Beer to Whiskey icon. If you click on that, you'll be all subscribed, and a new video comes out every Thursday at noon East Coast time. And with the foreplay out of the way, let me introduce here on my left my good buddy of more than 25 years, Michael Bongo Hahn. And he's my riding shotgun with me today. He's my beer-drinking co-conspirator for this episode.
Fellow bon vivant.
That's it. That's it. Quite the man around town. Sitting across from me, we have Dom Perry. He's one of the owners of Prosperity Brewers, and so we're going to dig in a little deeper with him. Dom, where did the name come from? How did that originate?
It was quite a process, and we had a little bit of time to work through the many suggestions that came their way from friends, family, and colleagues. Luckily, the less than lightning speed city of Boca processing afforded us time to explore all options.
Alacrity isn't an adjective you use.
Hi, Boca!
They're all good people. Ken, my partner, Ken Gross is my business partner, my friend, my neighbor. We put this project together, and we wanted something positive, something uplifting, something that was good vibes only type of expression, if you know what I mean. Prosperity came naturally. It's got a few different meanings or interpretations. I think everybody has their own version of what prosperity means.
Sure.
I think we got a few of the Dr. Spock live long and prosper signs when we did our market research. A few people said, oh, you guys want to be rich. This is a money play. No, there's a lot more easily.
I mean, yes, but...
There's a lot of ways to make money that are easier than opening a brewery. But no, this was a project that had a passion for beer, and a passion for hospitality, and hosting people, and wanting everybody to feel well.
You are in, I think what's fair to say is kind of old Boca here. It's an older part, longer established part of the city. Was there a reason why you wound up here, or was it just by chance? Or?
Well, for anyone who knows Boca, we're East Boca, and more
Right.
specifically, we're Northeast Boca. If you're really not familiar with the town, we're just off of Dixie Highway, so we're in between I-95 and Federal Highway. We're about a mile away from the beach, so we're east. We're not in a warehouse district. We're in a warehouse building. There happens to be one square block of warehouses that we're fortunate enough to be in on the east side of town. So we didn't have to be all the way out west. I also think if you look at the map of Boca or South Florida, I think right where our exit is off of I-95, where Spanish River Boulevard is, the brand new exit, I think that's the east, the furthest east that I-95 actually cuts to the coastline in South Florida. So we're 1 mile west of the I-95 exit. And we're a mile away from the main entrance to FAU. We're 2.3 miles from Meisner Park. Lynn University, the smaller private universities, less than 2.5 miles away. And we felt it had all the right ingredients for what we were looking for. Accessibility.
Yeah, I think you're in a really good spot. Russ and I, 100 million years ago, and a couple of our friends used to work at, we didn't work there, our friends worked there, we drank there.
We drank there.
At the old Dirty Mo's, which I don't know if you know about or not know about, but for Old Boca, it was a haven for people to go have a good time.
Oh, nice. No, I'm not familiar with it. It predates me.
Yeah.
I live out west in Parkland. My business partner and I are neighbors. Our kids go to school together. That's how we got together on the beer project.
How do you guys split up the workload? What is it, what do you bring to the table, what's he bring to the table?
So I have a history of hospitality, restaurant, and hotel management. I also have a history of beverage sales, mostly wine and spirits. I have my entry-level sommelier certification, very experienced, maybe not the best, but very experienced at analyzing flavor profiles of wine, doing wine and food pairings. So it was a natural transition into the beer world. And Ken, who is not a brewer either, I'm not a brewer, nor is he. He's the business savvy, if you will, and he handles all of the financial and accounting. I handle the operations and the marketing. And we're fortunate enough to have a real solid young guy named Cameron, who everybody in the beer world knows as Chewy. That's his nickname. We don't know if it's because he chewed tobacco when he played baseball in college, or because he looks like Chewbacca with that big beard. But either way, we respect his wishes to be called Chewy. And he's a local, homegrown, Coral Springs, born and raised, self-taught, worked at Bang Banjo, he worked over at Saltwater, was never a brewer over there, but he handles all the brewing operations. So between the three of us, we make it work. We all have our own areas of responsibility.
What's your annual production here? What do you think you're going to crank out this year?
We're not going to hit 300 barrels for the first 12 months. I tell you that when we started off with a 1-barrel system, so we're making beer 31 gallons at a time. We actually received our commercial beer manufacturing license from the U.S. government prior to being able to open our tap room in the city of Boca. So the initial plan of waiting to go to distribution to sell beer in kegs to other bars and restaurants, the plan was to wait minimum of 12 to 18 months.
Right.
We started doing it right away because we had beer made and we could sell it. We just couldn't serve it by the pint in the tap room.
Gotcha.
Once we got a certificate of occupancy and the city of Boca gave us our permit and final approval to actually serve guests in the tap room, we upgraded to a 3.5-barrel system. So for the first 8 months or 9 months that we were actually making beer, we were making it in super small batches. I think many of the other breweries around town or around the country would still say we're making it in small batches because it's only 108 gallons at a time.
Yeah.
It's not 1,800 gallons or 18,000 gallons.
Right.
But we did increase our fermentation space. Last week we bought 2 more 7-barrel fermenters, so we could brew 2 batches to fill up one of those. We're hoping to do 500 barrels a year too, even though we didn't hit 300 in year 1, based on equipment.
In your distribution that you're doing now, have you kept up the pace with that, or have you pulled back on that a little bit now that you're selling beer here?
We pulled back a little. It's really not a full-blown sales effort. What it is, as I told you, I was in the wine and liquor sales business, so I have a lot of friends who own restaurants. I have a lot of relationships. So it's really me sending a text message out every Monday saying, hey guys, this is what I have if you want it.
Yeah.
You know, who takes this and who takes that. And if it's gone by Tuesday, we don't get beer until next week.
First come,
So it's a nice little, it's a warm handshake, if you will, right? It's my friends helping me get started because we all know that the distribution side of it is what helps grow your business or right?
Yep.
You can only fit so many people in the tap room.
Yep.
Somebody goes into a local bar, pub, restaurant, hotel, sees your beer, the bartender's talking about it, and drives visits to the brewery. So it helps build the brand.
Almost every brewer I've talked to that's got a young brewery, almost one of the first things they always say is, you know, we've kind of outgrown our space already. All right, have you found that? Are you sort of in that, or do you still have a little room in here that you can work with?
I've already said on many occasions in the past 2 years since we've been in this space. We've been in this space for 2.5, almost 3 years. We've only been open for 10 months, 11 months.
Right.
I was shocked at how quickly the space filled up. Have we outgrown it? I wouldn't say yet, but we're pretty close.
Yeah.
You know, if I start doing a little bit more distribution, like we want to do with these 2 new tanks, I'm not going to have space for the extra 100 kegs, whether they're clean or dirty, whether they're empty or full.
Right.
The walk-in is big enough, as you can see right behind us, but you know, when you talk about dirty kegs coming back from restaurants that need to be, you know, cleaned and sanitized, I don't know. So we might need a little storage unit out back temporarily, but my goal would be to open up a second location as opposed to relocating.
Have you guys actually actively talked about that? I mean, is it like, oh, you know, Coral Springs is where we would go, or
I think that if I told you we hadn't talked about it, I would be lying, but we haven't talked about it seriously. No. I don't want to say that we're humble, but I think we are grounded. And I think that 10 months in, if I told you I was looking for a second location, I'd probably be putting the cart in front of the horse.
Yeah.
2 years down the road, yeah, sure. Do you talk about it? Yeah, absolutely. Do we know where? No. I think I'm smart enough to know that too close probably would cannibalize what I'm doing here.
Right.
And too far might be a stretch since I'm really the one operations person.
Right.
So where would it be? Maybe it'll be Pompano, maybe it'll be north of Delray rather, maybe it'll be Boynton or Lake Worth. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it'll be out west, maybe it'll be Parkland or Coral Springs.
Close to the house.
Close to the nest.
So you just, I think you mentioned before we started rolling the cameras, the first time, we're now rolling them for the second time, that you started last Friday or last Saturday was your first stout night.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's that about?
I think as beer enthusiasts, you're well aware that special treatments to the beers, special additions of ingredients, create interesting beers.
Yep.
We know it's winter, even though it might be 83 degrees today in Fort Lauderdale and sunny South Florida. The reality is it's the season for stouts. So Cameron brewed up a really nice imperial stout at 10% alcohol, and we came up with the idea to do Stout Saturday. And he took 5 different kegs of imperial stout, treated them separately. One of them was a peanut butter stout. One of them was an Italian-style biscotti stout with like almond flavor.
Wow.
The other one was coffee and vanilla. He did one that was white oak barrel aged. And I'm trying to remember what the last one was. I don't recall, it might have been stout.
Okay.
But we did that, yes, today's Monday, we did that on Saturday. And I think our business on Saturday was double a normal Saturday.
That's great.
So we advertised it for about 3 weeks in advance, not a heck of a long time. And people really came out for it. The beer crowd came out.
Yeah, right.
I think that one of the elements that people overlook is having a successful tap room and brewery doesn't depend solely on having the beer community embrace it. It's having the local community embrace it. We are the neighborhood pub.
Sure.
It just so happens we make it in-house.
Sure.
But with that said, when you do something special like that, whether it's special treatments or high alcohol or unique styles of beer, it attracts the beer crowd. And we're really fortunate and thankful that everybody responded well. We saw a lot of people that come around for specific beer releases, and it was a unique event.
I know you have a website, because I've been on and
Sure.
taken a look at it. Is there anything special you're doing with that, or is there anything that you're marketing-wise?
Well, from a marketing perspective, we drive most of our business through social media, as everybody else does these days.
Yeah.
It's Instagram and it's Facebook. We don't do anything on Twitter. I don't do anything on Snapchat. The website it was fabulous before we were open.
Right.
To explain who we were and what we were doing. I think it's a little bit of a stoic piece, right? I think the Instagram and the Facebook accounts are a little bit more vivacious. I think they show more accurate representation of what we are.
And I think that's most bars, most restaurants, that's what they do. Their website is there to give you short menu, phone number, location,
Couple of pictures,
map.
yeah.
Right. This is what we do, and that's it. And then everything else is driven by social media as far as your Facebook posts. I mean, that's the thing that you're updating all the time. That's what people are looking at most often. They're not going to go to the website. They're looking for that next update coming out of your Facebook page or your Instagram to say, hey, this is what's going on.
Although I will tell you, if you're going to be closed for a private party or because of a holiday, it's changing your hours on Facebook, on
Right.
Instagram, on your website, on Yelp, on Google.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of places for people to see when we're open and get directions here. There's a lot of sites. I guess that makes my job a lot easier. It's a little bit of ongoing maintenance, if you will, to make sure that information is accurate and uniform in all those locations, but a necessary part of doing business.
Let's talk a little bit about beer.
Absolutely.
You have, I assume you have some standards that every time I walk in here, unless there's been some sort of, crazy thing happen, that there are certain beers that every time I walk in here, I'm gonna find. What are those?
I would call those our core beers, or the usual suspects.
Yep.
You know, I wouldn't say they're guaranteed 365 days a year, but they'll be here for 50 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, a day here, a day there, we're in between batches, because
Sure.
we are only brewing 6 kegs at a time. So we do go through some beer. We have a standard IPA that we call Clutch Plate IPA. Unique little story. When they shipped us one of the tanks, there was a exploded truck transmission, like a big tractor trailer diesel transmission, in the bottom of the shipping crate. When I called up the manufacturer, he said, "Oh yeah, those crates are prone to tipping over, so we put ballast in the bottom."
Holy smokes, dude.
So we threw it in
They're not charging you by the pound to ship that, are they?
we threw it in the dumpster, and the clutch plate fell out, and the mechanic shop next door said, "Geez, look at the size of that clutch plate." So
Yeah.
it's hanging on the wall. And that's the name of our IPA. It's Clutch Plate IPA.
It's great.
It's a Simcoe Mosaic Columbus standard hop, East Coast style. We make a blonde ale. You know, every brewery has to have an easy drinker,
You bet.
especially in Florida.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's a Kolsch style ale, right, from the city of Cologne, that style of beer. So we call it Intracoastal. I'm sure the boys up in Intracoastal Brewing up in the Melbourne area are going to send me a cease and desist. But
Or they're gonna go, we should have thought of that.
yeah. But it's fun to try and listen to customers stumble through it, whether they're
Oh,
long-time
yeah.
Florida residents or they're visiting from out of town. They don't know what the Intracoastal Waterway is. It's
Yeah.
funny to watch them try and
Yeah.
say it.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And then we have a dark beer to sort of round out our trio of standards. And it's a lighter bodied beer, but it's dark in color, and that's our English mild. Some people will argue that it's a brown ale, but it's really not.
Is that this one?
Yeah, that's the one we have.
It's
in front of us.
beautiful.
That's
It's very nice.
It's got beautiful malty flavors
Great
to it,
flavor.
and it's real light bodied. It's surprisingly light on the palate, and doesn't fill you up.
Super easy drinking.
Yeah, delicious,
Yeah.
delicious, and not hoppy at all, so it doesn't have any of that bitterness. So we have those 3 as our real standards. We always try and keep a porter or a stout, a true dark beer on. We always try and keep an additional IPA on. One of the things that we didn't know we would need to do, but now the trend has proven itself strongly enough, that we always have a sour beer. You know, it's funny, I'm used to seeing the trends in the wine industry over the past 20 years. Now I'm seeing the trends take
Right,
place.
yeah.
And I have people that walk in and ask if we have any sour beers. They don't even know what they are. They just know to ask for it by
Yeah.
name or by style.
I know to ask for it because my
Yeah.
wife likes them.
Yeah, there you go. So, you know, first time I had a sour beer, I said, "Damn, that's the worst Chardonnay I've ever had in my life." And you know, 6 months later, hey, let me have 2 more of those.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so, but that's pretty much it. You know, we, if you can see right behind us, our unique magnetic chalkboard design for our beer menus.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic, high-tech device.
Yeah, it rotates easily. The brewer who makes all the amazing beer also has the best handwriting out of anyone.
I was gonna say that,
So
beautiful.
he's super creative. He's truly an artist with liquid and with chalk.
And I like his fonts.
Yeah, he makes all the signs. He's a great guy. And you know, we talk about the name of the beer before it actually comes out, right?
Sure.
When he's making the beer, we know we have about 10 to 14 days before we actually have to make the sign.
Right.
So we come up with cute stuff, and you know, I mean, that's half the fun of owning the brewery is the name of the beers.
Yeah, right.
Who the hell gets pleasure out of signing the checks?
Yep.
Not me.
Anyway, but yeah, so we I would say for a 3-barrel batch of beer, it takes anywhere from 2 weeks to 5 weeks to go through it. You know, depending on how many kegs we actually send out to distribution to the local bars and restaurants. But depending on what the alcohol is and what the style is, it's either gone in 3 or 4 weeks. And then we're on to the next one. Some of the beers will rotate, we'll make them every 3 or 4 months. Sometimes we only make a beer once a year if it's a true seasonal pumpkin or a winter warmer with spices, etc.
Right.
And how do you guys come up with the next set of recipes? I mean, how do you sit down and decide?
Cam has full autonomy over all the beers that he brews.
Do you have like an approval over that, or a veto, or a...
You know, I would like to think that I do.
Does he discuss anything with you before he puts it in the hopper, or you guys just...
I order all the ingredients.
Okay.
Okay, so he sits down, puts together the brew for the month, tells me what beers he wants to make, then he gives me the list of shopping cart items we need, whether it's grain or yeast or bacteria if we need, you know, any sour
Right.
beer, lactobacillus, lactobacillus, etc. Sometimes it's the treatments, it's the cinnamon sticks or the cocoa nibs. So I'm aware of everything that he's doing, and he does a real nice job of balancing things and doing seasonally, excuse me. He's also younger than I am. He's much more up on the trends. He lives his life in the brewery space. You know, I'm married, I got 3 kids, I live in suburbia. You know, I know hospitality,
Right.
Yeah.
but I'm not out in the pub every night seeing what's, and neither is he for that matter. He's friends with brewers and they're talking about what the trends are. So he knows when to make this and when to make that, as opposed to where I just tell him which ones I like the best.
And how many batches out are you guys planning? I mean, I'm assuming because of your timeline and you're looking at what season's coming up next. So are you guys 2 batches ahead when you're dreaming up the next stuff coming up?
Well, it depends on what it is.
Okay.
So we know that there's the 3 core standards that he's brewing every month. He's making 1 batch of Clutch Blade, 1 batch of Kolsch, and 1 batch of English Mild every month. So what are the other batches? Well, we know when we're coming up to October or September, we're going to be making a pumpkin beer in August. We know that as we get to Thanksgiving, we're going to be making a winter warmer, so we'll order the ingredients in November, brewing it in November, and then launching it in December.
Right.
We also look at certain events, like, you know, we were fortunate enough to get invited to Maple Bacon Coffee Porter Day last month down
Oh,
in
great.
Fort Lauderdale for the
Excellent.
first time. And we knew what beers we wanted to submit and offer at that event, so we brewed them a month in advance.
And when I first heard about that, the very first time they ever brewed it, and the very first time there was a release with it, I looked at that list of ingredients in that name and I was just like, why has it taken all my life for somebody to come up with that combination?
Yeah, those guys are mad geniuses, and I say it about all the brewers. There's really a lot of science to brewing. We all know that, but they're all mad scientists, right? To put, Cam makes a wonderful beer called Mexican hot chocolate. It's cocoa nibs, it's cinnamon sticks, it's vanilla beans, and it's ancho chili, dried chili peppers.
Right.
And it's got a nice little heat to it in the back, very subtle. It's got a little bit of sweetness from the cocoa and the vanilla, and the cinnamon gives it that little dance on your tongue. And it comes in at 13%. So maybe that's our signature beer, and that's the one we're going to release in May. We're going to do it. We're not doing a Cinco de Mayo party because everybody goes to a Mexican restaurant, drinks tequila.
Yeah.
We're going to do a Quattro de Mayo party the day before, and we're going to do a
Keep the
Mexican
jump
hot
on
chocolate
things.
release.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Right after our 1-year anniversary in April, we'll do that in May. It
Fantastic.
should be super fun.
That's a great idea. In relation to the beers that, some of the beers you were describing for us, are these?
So each of us has the same beer, or all 3 of the beers are
Yeah.
uniform in front of us, even though the glassware isn't. The 3 that I brought out were the Kolsch, the easy drinking Kolsch style blonde
Which
ale,
is what I had.
which is what you had in the larger glass, and we had in the smaller glasses.
It is very easy to drink.
It's a traditional Florida easy drinking blonde beer.
Hot weather, I just got done.
No hops, or
Mowing
very
the
minimal
yard,
hops. I
yeah.
think there's the traditional Saaz, the German hops that they use in Pilsners. But it's not a bitter or a hoppy beer at all.
What's the ABV?
I think it's 4.2 or 4.3. So it's
it's a nice
low.
session beer.
Yeah, nice session beer. I mean, I tell people it's the best beer if you're not into craft beer.
Right.
And then they say, no, I like good beer. I said, no, I drink 4 of them a day. Don't get me wrong. They don't fill you up. You don't get drunk.
Yeah.
Because the alcohol level's low. There's not a ton of grain in the grain bill, so it's not a real thick, heavy.
But for
Lots
your
of
friends
natural flavors.
that you bring into this tasting room, you come in and have to sit down and go, oh, you know what, I don't like heavy
Yeah.
beers and I don't like blah, 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 blah. That's perfect.
I tell everybody, it's a little slow. It's an easy
It's
drinking beer.
Gorgeous.
It's
so
more
easy.
full bodied than an American light lager,
Right.
but it's also got a little bit more flavor without
Got
being
a
overbearing.
beautiful, beautiful flavor to it.
Thank you. The other lighter colored beer we have is sour, and that's our passion fruit sour. It was actually a kettle sour, and
It's just got a beautiful nose.
yeah, it came out
You
real
can
well.
smell it, it's just fantastic.
It's a Gose style sour, Gose. So there's plenty of puns out there in the beer world.
Of course.
And we call this one She Comes and Goes. And we try to keep one sour on. This is the one we have this month.
But it's not overly, I've had sours that are just like punch you in the head sours, This
Yeah,
is
that
wonderful.
wild fermentation, those yeasts and those bacteria sometimes are just super aggressive. And the best thing about our beer, and the best thing that I can say about our brewer, is that all of his beers taste like beer with an addition. He doesn't make anything that's over the top that doesn't taste like beer.
Yeah.
There's no cotton candy, foo-foo, stuff going on.
Yeah.
It's a traditional, I wouldn't say militant regimen, but they're traditional recipes, traditional styles with a little flair, a little oomph to them.
I'm not a big sour guy.
Sure.
So I'm.
But that's a lot less sour than some of the others.
Yeah.
I mean, it's some of them are just, and just like IPAs where people were going for hop counts that were just out of this world to the point where you're like,
Oh, yes.
and it's like, for what? Well, I mean, yeah, you're going to have one of those just to taste it as an experiment.
Oh, there's an interesting thing. I've come to make my own observations in the beverage industry, right? Been doing this for a while. Typically, I think Americans, more than Europeans, they like palate assaults. They want that giant Cabernet that's
Right.
probably not really ready to drink.
Super toasty.
It's not finesse. It doesn't have a lot of finesse to it because it's a little ahead of its time. But some people want these super aggressive sours or super aggressive IPAs because it's easily recognizable and they can affirm in their mind that yes, this is an IPA because it has tons and tons more hops than it needed. There's also something to be said about the push, the cutting edge and staying ahead of the pack.
Right.
If everybody's making single IPAs, a double IPA is radical. If everybody's making double IPAs, a triple IPA is radical.
Right.
So things also run in cycles, and then, you have the 0 IBU New England style IPA that hops went in and flame out.
Yeah.
So is it really 0 IBUs? No, it's not really 0 IBUs, but technically it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like the creativity.
I'm sure that everybody starts out the same way. Everybody kind of starts off as a home brewer and slowly builds to the point where they would, let's go commercial with it. We got a good product.
I tell everybody I don't brew. I've brewed a bunch of poor quality beer prior to opening just to learn the process. I've helped Cameron a lot. And when I say helped him, it's sort of like when you're 5 years old, you're helping your dad do a project. And you're hand him a wrench.
You're holding a flashlight.
Yeah.
More brown sugar?
You want a paper towel? So I've brewed a few batches of beer. I can't say I've made a recipe or not. But
do you have a recipe that you're thinking that you want?
No, what's funny is you were asking me before about Cameron's autonomy or if I have a veto power. I've actually come up with 2 beers. They both were super popular. I came up with the concept of the beer. He said, "Is there anything you want me to brew?" And I said, "No." I said, "I want you to brew whatever you want. You do a great job. I don't want to get in your way." And he said, "No, you enjoy beer, you drink beer, you go visit other breweries. Is there a style that I haven't made that you'd like to see here in our brewery?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I want you to make a pale ale with rye, and I want you to dry hop it with Simcoe and Mosaic." He said, "Okay, sounds good." I said, "Really? Do you think so?" And that's the one that's up there right now called MSRP. So it's a Mosaic Simcoe Rye Pale Ale,
Very nice.
which came out really good. And that was one of the beers that we made for Maple Bacon Coffee Porter Day. He was so proud of it, thought it came out so well, that we brought that down to that festival. And the other one was a cherry coconut goza. So it was a cherry coconut salad.
Wow.
That I enjoy cherry beers. And, I thought the coconut would make a nice addition. We made it once, we haven't made it again, but it was popular back right around the time we opened last year in March.
And the dark beer that we have in front of us?
The dark beer is the English mild style,
Okay.
and that one is affectionately known as Publand. So named after one of my favorite music artists' songs. Are you familiar with Elvis Costello? The song Clubland?
Clubland.
Well, this is Publand. So it's a perfect English pub beer.
Yeah.
And my buddy Rob, who owns the Lion and Eagle pub right down the street in Boca, whenever we make it, he always has it on draft.
We've been doing this so long that now I'm forced to do our farewell toast with a sour.
Yay!
Cheers.
But
Gentlemen.
thanks for having us, Tom.
Look forward to seeing you at the tap room.
It's been a blast. Texas Miss Lily. See you next time.